Camille Duval kept her atelier dim on purpose. In the half-light, the bolts of experimental cloth glimmered like moonlit water, soft grays that promised other, hidden hues. She threaded her needle with platinum microfilament, brought it to the fabric and paused. The silk polymer blend was laced with sensors thinner than a human hair. If she breathed too hard, a blush of pale rose might ripple across it, revealing how unsure she felt. The cloth was a mirror of emotion, and like any mirror, it could be painfully honest. She took one steadying inhale, then set the stitch. The fabric lurched through a spectrum lavender, indigo, quicksilver, before settling back to gray. Still unstable, she muttered. Her deadline was 9 weeks away. Paris Fashion Week waited for no one, least of all a designer whose creations changed color on a whim. Camille walked to the window overlooking the Rue Vieille du Temple. Below, the afternoon hummed. A busker pumped accordion waltzes, tourists fumbled with maps, and a gaggle of teenagers broke into dance moves that cracked the facade of Parisian elegance. One figure among them made Camille forget her troubles. He moved as though gravity, listened politely before stepping aside. Each pop of his shoulders, each glide of his feet was accompanied as if by magic by the arc of his hands painting invisible trails only he could see. The group erupted in laughter, collected coins, dispersed, but the dancer remained, turning beneath imaginary spotlights. When the accordion player slid into a minor key, his body abruptly softened, swaying as though dipped in cyan fog. Camille blinked. She almost saw the color. As the song brightened again, so did an electric chartreuse aura around him. She knew it was impossible, yet it hovered at the edge of vision as though the dancer was authoring a private aurora. She grabbed her coat. Inspiration did not send engraved invitations. It beckoned, then vanished. Moments later, she was curbside. "Excusez-moi," she called. "You, yes, you in the silver trainers." The dancer stopped, wiping sweat from his brow. Up close, he was younger than she'd thought. Early 20s, perhaps, lean, with café au lait skin and a crescent of scar above his right eye. "If you want a video, madame, the tip jar is over there," he said in accented French. His voice was surprisingly soft. "I don't want a video." Camille extended her hand. "I'm Camille Duval, couturière. Would you join me for a coffee?" He glanced at her tailored trench, the glint of high-grade scissors poking from her pocket, and smirked. "Is that a line?" "A proposition, certainly, but not of that sort." She pointed upward toward her atelier windows. "I design fabrics that translate emotion into color. I think you might help me." His eyebrows lifted. "I'm Malik, and I'm just a dancer." "I've watched you for 5 minutes," Camille said, "and you've shown me more colors than my cloth has managed in 2 months." Malik hesitated. A police siren wailed in the distance. Gloves of cold wind slipped down the street. Finally, he shrugged. "Coffee, then." Inside the atelier, Malik leaned over the work table, eyes widening at the rolls of strange silk. Camille poured espresso. Sensors pressed into the fibers like constellation maps. "Touch it," she urged. He placed a palm flat. Instantly, the fabric flushed sunflower yellow, then cooled to aquamarine. Malik yanked his hand back, startled. "C'est dingue. It listens to skin conductivity, pulse rate, microtremors," she explained. "Fine for laboratory conditions, but fashion shows are storms of emotion. Fear, euphoria, boredom. The colors spiral out of control. My models look like malfunctioning traffic lights." Malik covered his fingers over the cloth, watching color pulse with his nearness. "You want choreography." "I want coherence," she corrected. "A palette guided, not chaotic." He nodded slowly. "I hear music in color. I thought everyone did until I was 8 and my teacher told me C minor is an emerald, it's just a key. Turns out I have synesthesia. When I move, the sound and the emotion merge. Maybe the fabric is doing something similar." Camille's pulse jumped. The cloth blushed pink. If your body can conduct your color perceptions, maybe you could train the fabric, teach it what belongs where. Malik sipped his espresso, thinking. Outside, dusk smudged the rooftops. I have rehearsals every night at the canal, he said. If you can spare pieces of your magic cloth, we'll experiment. That evening, Camille cut narrow panels and sewed magnetic clasps so they could snap onto Malik's hoodie like epaulets. In the warehouse district by Canal Saint Martin, breakbeats rattled tin walls. Malik's dance crew eyed her warily. Custom costume, he explained with a grin. Latest sponsor. The DJ dropped a track. Malik stepped onto cracked concrete wearing his patchwork of smart silk. Camille clutched a tablet streaming live telemetry from the fabric. Boom kick drum, and the cloth burst orange like flares at daybreak. Snare crack ultramarine, bass wobble deep wine red. Malik popped, locked, and spun. The panels became animated stained glass. The audience cheered, phones raised. When a discordant note slipped from the speakers, Malik flinched, and the left panel erupted in garish lime before righting itself. Camille's heart pounded. This wasn't random. The palette followed Malik's shifts with breathtaking fidelity. After the set, she showed him the data, smooth curves, controlled transitions. So, he asked. So you're hired, she said. Name your fee. Money's nice, he replied, toweling sweat. But I'd rather have co-credit. Designers stick their names on everything. Camille considered her brand. Duval in clean serif font, projected on runways from Shanghai to Sao Paulo. Sharing it felt like slicing off a fingertip. Yet the thought of seeing Duval and Malik glinting under spotlights sparked a strange warmth. Deal, she said. Weeks blurred into a pas de deux of needle and footwork. Mornings, Camille stitched sensors into bodices while scrolling through Malik's playlists to pick tracks of contrasting moods. Afternoons, he arrived, shrugging off winter layers, and the atelier transformed into a dance studio. Fabric swatches hung from wire like flags. As Malik spun, they shimmered, and Camille recorded color coordinates. When a transition pleased her, she'd tack a note. Sadness to hope, tempo 92, gradient 4456, DDULI. Outside, Paris slogged through February gloom, but inside they lived in chromatic spring. They argued, too. Camille prized restraint. A single gown should tell a single story. Malik favored volcanic unpredictability. A human heart isn't a metronome. Their disagreements sparked new palettes of compromise, violet anchored to a rebellious streak of gold. One rainy evening, Camille revealed the ghost that haunted her. My father sold umbrellas near Palais Royal, she said, guiding her needle. He told customers color was protection against gray days. When he died, I studied engineering to create fabrics that never dulled. She spread a half-sewn jacket, but I don't feel color the way you do. I only measure it. Malik knelt, touching the hem. Where I grew up, La Courneuve buildings were gray too. I'd lie awake hearing sirens, seeing crimson pouring down the walls. Dance let me pour it somewhere else. He met her eyes. You build vessels, I spill paint. Maybe that's the partnership. As March arrived, they staged a test performance at Galerie Lumière, an industrial space of raw brick and steel beams. Invitations went to critics, known for savage pens. 30 guests clustered around a circular platform. Malik emerged first, clothed head to toe in smart silk dyed neutral gray. Electroclassical strings floated. He moved with almost religious slowness. On the audience's wrists were paper bands printed with conductive ink linked wirelessly to the fabric. Every sigh, laugh, or fidget fed data into the cloth. Colors rippled outward from Molly's chest like gossip spreading across water. Shocked faces lit by azurite wonder blossomed in coral. A collective inhalation flashed pearled white. Camille watched from the wings. This was it, the conversation between body, emotion, and fabric made visible. She barely breathed. Halfway through, a critic near the exit scoffed loudly at her notes. The ripple tipped to muddy brown. slithering across the cloth like oil. The room's mood soured, whispers replaced awe. Malik's dance faltered. He pivoted on one heel, dropped to the floor, and began an angular sequence. Sharp elbows carving space, feet stamping. The aggression startled the guests, resetting the emotional current. The cloth brightened to warning amber, then lifted into sunburst orange. Camille felt tears burn. Malik had choreographed a reboot on instinct. The show ended in standing ovation. The scoffing critic approached her later with shining eyes. I felt it correcting me, he murmured, as if the garment refused to leave me in cynicism. Back in the atelier, Malik collapsed onto a settee. First time I danced fear into something beautiful, he said. Camille knelt, wiping sweat from his brow with a scar of ivory silk. Without thinking, she brushed a kiss across the scar above his eye. The fabric in her hand instantaneously flushed rose gold. Malik laughed, a sound like a new pigment. Fashion Week arrived in a blizzard of flashing cameras and carpentered egos. The Carrousel du Louvre buzzed as forklifts dragged platforms and stylists armed with hairspray fought time. Backstage, Camille's team of seamstresses zipped models into gowns that looked alive even on hangerscapes, whose edges glowed ember at each exhale. Trousers shot through with ribbons that brightened when knees bent, corsets blooming orchid when heartbeat rose. On every label read Duval, Malik. Malik wore a suit cut from the same smart silk, tailored slim. Beneath, sensors hugged his skin like second thoughts. He stood, center stage behind a scrim, visible only a silhouette. His role, emotional conductor. Niels Fromm's piano swelled. Lights dimmed. The first model stepped out. Soft cellos urged melancholy, her gown mourned in midnight blue. Then Malik raised his palm, a hush of strings, a catch of breath from the audience, and the gown's hem brightened to palest dawn. Gasps sprinkled the runway. Critics leaning over notepads abandoned vocabulary. They were witnessing what words usually chase but never quite catch. Feeling made fabric. As each look appeared, Malik's shuttle gesture, a wrist twist, a shoulder roll, shifted palette. In duet with him, the audience shaped color, too. When a veteran editor crowded the front row, thought of her late husband, grief tinted the cloth around her seat. Malik sensed the darkening. He swayed, coaxing the hue toward lilac acceptance. She pressed fingers to her lips, sobbing openly. The finale approached. Camille had saved one gown, the boldest risk, yards of translucent silk scaffolded over a hidden exoskeleton. Sensors densely embroidered like constellations. The lights plunged. Music ceased. For 5 heartbeats, there was only the rustle of anticipation. Then, from darkness, Malik stepped forward, wearing no color at all, his suit red as mirrored silver. He raised both hands, palms open. A single spotlight broke, revealing the final model perched atop a moving pedestal. The gown gleamed unlit, a blank canvas. Malik began a slow turn. Silence became rhythm, the collective heartbeat, the creak of stage boards. With every quarter turn, color awakened from pearl to blush, blush to peach, peach to molten gold. The transition matched the progression of dawn over Paris rooftops. By the time Malik completed a full circle, the dress sang noon. Then, ever so gently, he lowered his arms, and the color flowed outward like spilled champagne, pouring across the bank of photographers, drenching their lenses in imagined light. Cameras clicked, yet captured only ordinary spectra. The miracle lived on the cloth, and in their chests. Applause detonated. Lights flooded. Camille climbed the runway's stairs, hands trembling. She and Malik met center stage. He offered his palm. She placed hers atop, fingers intertwining. The fabric of his sleeve flushed a quiet, steady emerald. Balance. Months later, articles would call the show techno-romanticism, hope, empathy, a garment that feels you back. Investors would salivate. The smart silk patent would become worth fortunes. Yet the moment neither of them could forget came afterward, when the crowds dispersed and the Eiffel Tower glittered in the distance. They walked along the Seine, her heels dangling from one hand, his jacket draped over her shoulders. Night buses tremored over bridges. Camille's head rested against Malik's arm. "Tell me," she whispered, "what color is this?" He looked up at the indigo sky, then down at the reflection in the water, shimmering silver from street lamps. Finally, he smiled. "It's the color you get when two impossible things find out they're possible." She nudged him. "I can't put that on a Pantone chart." "Not yet," he teased, "but give us time." They paused on Pont Louis Philippe. A tourist boat passed beneath, its lights rippling kaleidoscopic across their faces. Malik closed his eyes, feeling the low hum of the engine, the laughter on board, the river's ancient heartbeat. Colors unfurled behind his eyelids: ultramarine contentment, topaz curiosity, and a soft, persistent rose that tasted like promise. He opened his eyes to find the same rose blooming across Camille's borrowed jacket, fed by his pulse traveling through the sleeve. She noticed, lips parting in wonder. "No choreography this time," he said. "Just truth." Camille reached for his hand. The jacket flushed deeper, a sunset cascading into night. Around them, Paris carried on motorbikes revving, lovers arguing, vendors closing stalls. No one noticed that the couple on the bridge wore hearts on their sleeves, in the most literal sense, projecting their tender spectrum into the night air. Camille tucked herself closer, the jacket merging violet with the rosy glow, sealing the gradient. "Let's keep walking," she murmured. "We'll test infinite shades." Malik chuckled. "Alors, Madame la Scientifique, prepare your notes." They strolled until footsteps blended with river-lapping stone. Colors followed, line after line of living poetry written onto fabric, onto water, onto memory-making of the city, not a museum of style, but a laboratory of feeling. And in that unending experiment, stitch by step, hue by heartbeat, they discovered that the most beautiful palette is the one two souls mix together, guided not by trend or algorithm, but by the quiet, luminous measure of connection.